Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be going through my round 21 tips. Just to quickly go through my last round tips, I only got 3 out of 9. Isn't an extremely hard round to tip, upsets everywhere. I got GWS right, I got my boys the Swans right, and I got the Melbourne Richmond game correct as well. The rest they're all sadly incorrect. I could have got the last one right as well, but I changed my tip to North Melbourne when I heard that Jeremy McGovern and Tom Barrass were out. I thought that the back line was just too unheralded, too like just makeshift, that they just wouldn't be able to contain Nick Larkey, and Nick Larkey didn't even end up playing that good of a game. He played much better in the first round when both of those guys were playing, which is weird. But yeah, I should have stuck to my original tip with that one, and I could have got one extra tip for the round. But anyways, let's just get on with my round 21 tips now. Starting things off with Friday night footy, Western Bulldogs taking on Richmond. Both these teams need a win to really, well, the Bulldogs are currently hanging on to a spot in the 8. They lost by 5 points to GWS last round. They were up by about 6 goals at one stage. GWS and Toby Green came clawing home. Richmond couldn't get the job done against Melbourne, were competitive for most of the match, but just couldn't quite get the job done in the end. Melbourne ran away with a 32-point win, very high scoring match. And I reckon this game will be another high-scoring match because the Dogs' defence is just absolute shambles. They've had a number of injuries to their backline. Their backline, in the first place, wasn't very good to begin with, but it's even worse now. I really don't know I think, I'm going to be tipping, even though it's at Marvel Stadium, I'm going to be tipping Richmond. Yeah, you know what? I'll go for it to be a very high scoring match. I'll go Richmond by 11 points. Yeah, I just think they'll overpower them with their forward line against Bulldogs, who have a very undersized, undermanned back line, I should say. I think that'll probably be what gets them over the line in the end. Yeah, the Bulldogs very hot and cold, so they could come out and play brilliantly this match, or they could put in a pretty dismal performance as well, and so could Richmond, really. These two teams are very inconsistent, but it should make for an entertaining game of Friday night footy. West Coast, finally, with another win to their name. They're 2 wins and 17 losses. Percentage of just above 50%. They almost bottled it against North Melbourne, but North they just couldn't quite get back. West Coast were clearly the better team in that match, I think, for most of the game anyway. They had a couple of lapses where North Melbourne got back into the game, but for the most part, it seemed like West Coast were controlling the game more so than North Melbourne, but I can't see them getting the job done here against Essendon, who need to win this game, and I can't really see why they wouldn't. So yeah, I'm going to be tipping... I'll tip this to be... not close, but for a West Coast game, away from Optus Stadium, since they've played terribly away from Optus Stadium this year, West Coast. It was sort of similar scoreline to what it was last time these two teams played, Essendon by 53. Adelaide versus Gold Coast now. Two teams on 9 wins, 10 losses, 13th and 14th. Last time, Gold Coast got the job done in Darwin. At Adelaide Oval, I think it'll be a different result. I'd say that Adelaide should get the job done here. I'm going to tip them to win by 25 points. Gold Coast got a very good win against Brisbane last round. A very unexpected win after being belted the round before by GWS. But I can't see them getting up against Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, because that place has been a fortress. Adelaide belted Port Adelaide in the last round in the showdown. Tex on fire. Yeah, I think that, Adelaide should win this one. Hawthorn versus Collingwood now. Collingwood, they obviously lost to Carlton last round, which I really did not expect. I thought that in front of a home Collingwood crowd, it was neutral venue for both of those, home venue for both of those, but it was a Collingwood home game at the MCG where they play all of their home games. I thought they would really get the job done, give Carlton a bit of a reality check, but no. Carlton, they were just too good for them in the end. Hawthorn, slightly disappointing against the Saints, and I can't really see them getting up in this one. I'm going to go Collingwood by 41 points. I think they should get back on the winners list. I don't think that last result will phase them too much. They're still clear on top of the ladder by 2 games, and I think that's where they will stay. Geelong versus Port Adelaide at GMHBA. Port Adelaide, they've lost their last 3. Still second on the ladder. It doesn't really feel at the moment like they are a second-ranked team. Geelong, on the other hand, they got to win this one if they want to make finals, that's for sure. And I think they probably will, because Port Adelaide, they're going to be without Lockie Jones and Aaliyah. So they're two, or Aaliyah especially, is a very big loss for them. They do have a few other injuries around the ground, and like Charlie Dixon was looking a bit banged up in that last showdown game. Obviously played out the entire match, but he didn't look 100%. And in Geelong, I think Geelong should get it done because they beat pretty much everyone there except for Fremantle these days, who are weirdly good at playing down in Geelong. 50-50 game, this one, according to the Squiggle site anyway. GWS on their longest winning streak in their club's history. They've won their last 7. Sydney, we're in some good form as well. We're finally starting to play to our potential. Is it too little too late? I certainly hope not. And if we can win this one, then I think we're probably more likely to make finals than miss, if I'm being honest. That's only if we win this one. And I'm not going to be tipping us to do that. I'm going to be tipping GWS because they've just been in such good form. We're going to be without Lance Franklin for the rest of the season. Unfortunately, couldn't give him a send-off match. He announced his retirement effective immediately following that calf injury. Sam Taylor's been absolutely magnificent in the last 6 weeks since he's come back from injury. He's been easily the best key defender in the competition and one of the best players in the competition. The GWS defence as a whole has been outstanding, and for that reason is why I'm going to be tipping GWS in this game. I'll tip it to be a reasonably close one. It's a GWS home derby, so yeah, I'll tip them by 10 points. Alistair Clarkson's first game back and 400th as a senior coach, but I can't see him getting anywhere near close to this one. North Melbourne, well, they hit a new low by losing to West Coast last round. They've now lost 17 in a row, which is an AFL era record for them, not a club record. They lost like 30 games or something back in the 30s or 40s. So yeah, it's not quite a club record, but it is an AFL era record for them. And yeah, they're not gonna break that drought here because Melbourne are in some really good form now. Ever since they made that decision to drop Grundy, it seems like it was a very good decision because they are playing absolutely superbly with Max Gawn as a solo ruck. And I think, to be honest, I think they'll probably win this one by in excess of 100 points. North Melbourne surprisingly haven't lost a game by 100 points this year. The closest they came to was a 90-point loss against also Melbourne. But yeah, I just think they're just going to... They might put in a better effort with Alistair Clarkson coming back, but I don't think he can save them at this point. They're just absolutely dreadful, and Melbourne will put them to the sword. St Kilda taking on Carlton now. St Kilda really need to win this game. Carlton also need to win this game. Both these teams need to win this game to consolidate their spot in the top 8. And I think it's a fairly simple one to tip this. I reckon Carlton are comfortably a better side than St Kilda. Despite still being in the top 8 somehow, the Saints have not been playing very convincing at all. A fair bit better last round than their previous performances, the Saints were. But even still, I reckon Carlton should get the job done here. Final game of the round, ladder position. Based on ladder position, it should be a pretty simple tip. But Brisbane just can't seem to play outside the Gabba. They couldn't even beat Gold Coast outside the Gabba. And Fremantle just came off a brilliant win on the road against Geelong. I haven't gone for too many upsets this round, so I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to be tipping Fremantle in this one. I reckon that Brisbane's record on the road is just so abysmal that Fremantle are actually a chance in this game. They should be fired up after their last win. And yeah, I'm going to tip them to winning by 11 points. Fremantle on the ladder, still in the bottom 4 after that win. That is crazy how a team can possibly be in the bottom 4 with 9 wins at this point in the season. Just insane. Collingwood still on top. Melbourne move up to 2nd spot. I think they probably are deserving of being in that 2nd spot because they've been playing better than all of the other teams around them at this point in time. Port Adelaide moved down to 3rd, Brisbane down to 4th. GWS knocking on the door of the top 4, only 1 win and a fair bit of percentage behind Brisbane. Carlton, St Kilda and Geelong back in the 8. Richmond in 9th spot there. Adelaide climb back up the ladder a little bit. Bulldogs slip out, and Essendon and Sydney still around the same mark. The bottom 5 has remained pretty much unchanged. In fact, I think it has remained completely unchanged according to my tips. So there you have it. Let me know your thoughts on my tips. Leave your tips down in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.